This is Food Chemistry Unit 1, Chapter 3, Sensory Evaluation, the Human Factor. People's food preferences, like chocolate versus caramel, for example, are simply opinion or subjective. Personal views, backgrounds, environments, and experiences affect your taste in food. Researchers tried to look at the human factor when developing food products, which is not always easy to do. It is hard to know if people will prefer a product or not. Sensory evaluation is the method of analysis of the taste, smell, sound, feel, and appearance of food. This involves an understanding of how the human senses work and how scientists develop food products from these findings. So what influences your food preferences? So let's look at physical influences. This is based on genetics. In the same way people are colorblind or inherit genetic traits like eye color or height, people can have varying abilities to taste their food. Your ability to taste is partially based on the number of taste buds inherited, along with gender, which is based on hormone levels, health, and age. A super taster can identify subtle differences in flavor and aroma, and this person can have as many as 1,100 taste buds per centimeter squared on the tongue. If you are taste blind, you are unable to distinguish tastes, and you can have as few as 40 taste buds per centimeter squared on the tongue. Psychological influences. Taste bias. So negative experiences can cause a person to dislike food. For example, eating a certain food made you sick when you were young, and it might make you avoid eating that food for the rest of your life. It can also be positive or based on preference. You might be offered a free oatmeal cookie, but refuse it because you prefer to eat chocolate chip. This type of bias needs to be avoided by taste testers or chefs on shows like Chopped, if you ever watch that, where your food is judged. So you have to keep an open mind. Other factors include labels, brand names, advertising, peer preferences, and the setting in which you consume the food. So for example, many associate healthy foods with not tasting good. So manufacturers have to balance the health value and taste. And then you've got your comfort foods, right? Foods connected to good days, special occasions, etc. But these are often high in fat, sugar, and or salt. Things like pizza, chips, cake, like you see in this picture. Not saying they're not good, but they're often comfort foods. Cultural influences. So beliefs and behaviors followed by a group of people can be passed down from generation to generation, right? This could be religion, lifestyle, region, and holidays. These are all part of culture. So for example, in my culture, right, this is kolaczki. So this is a Polish dessert. Love it. But you've also got like Halloween, right? The food most often eaten on Halloween in the United States is candy, but it could be another food if Halloween is celebrated differently in a different country. Environmental influences. It is easier to eat what is available and economical. This is based on climate, geography, and availability of fuel, right? These can affect food costs and obtainability. So for example, if you live on an island, fresh fruit is probably prevalent in your diet. If you live in colder climates or inland, not near the water, meat is prevalent in your diet. You often prefer foods you were exposed to as a child. So if you ate oysters as a child and enjoyed them, you will most likely eat and enjoy them as an adult. Sensory characteristics of food products. So the products themselves now. Let's look at appearance. This is the shape, size, condition, and color of a product. The appearance is evaluated on both the interior and exterior of the product. So lettuce, for example, should be green in color and crisp in texture. Okay, so let's look at color. So that was a colorimeter that you just saw there. Okay, so a colorimeter is a device that actually measures the color of foods in terms of hue, value, and chroma. Hue is the actual color, like red, blue, or green. Value is the lightness or darkness of the color. So pink would be a light value of red. Burgundy would be a darker value of red, right? And then chroma is the intensity of the color. So if you take a look at canned green beans right here, these tend to look olive in color compared to fresh green beans, which have that brighter green color. Now the colorimeter itself, it can provide the color in numerical terms, and this helps when comparing food products or for taste tests. And color does influence your perception of taste. This is why colored ketchups did not survive. Yes, this is real. I think this occurred like in the 90s. So there was purple and green colored ketchup. This was to appeal to kids, right? And this is how it looked on foods, but it did not do well. It's no longer on the market. It tastes the same, but just your perception of color and taste, yeah. This was to appeal to kids and it just didn't go over well. You can look it up, it's real. All right, flavor. This is a combined effect of taste and aroma. It begins in the mouth with the tongue. You have 5 basic tastes: salt, bitter, sour, sweet, and umami. Foods stimulate combinations of tastes like sweet and sour sauce. You can evaluate flavor in terms of astringency or the ability to draw the muscles of the mouth up, right? Foods like tea, lemons, Sour Patch Candy. Flavors tend to intensify with temperature, but it depends on the food. So for example, if you taste fruit and cheese that are chilled versus after they've been sitting out for a while, different cultures prefer them at different temperatures. So some prefer the colder temperature and some prefer them at room temperature. Aroma. Aroma is the odor of a food. Aroma allows you to identify a food without seeing or tasting it. Some people are better than others at identifying odors. The preference for odors, again, is related to your experiences, good or bad. The olfactory bulb in the body, it's a bundle of nerves at the base of the brain, and it's behind the ridge of the nose. Right here. Sorry. The olfactory nerve cells, these die and are replaced every 60 days. So these nerve cells right here, they're the only nerve cell in the body that is remade. But aging can cause olfactory loss. Texture. How a food product feels to your fingers, tongue, teeth, and palate or the roof of your mouth. So chewiness is how well one part of a food slides past another without breaking. So milk duds, very high in chewiness, but pudding would be very low. Graininess would be the size of the particles in a food. Cream is very smooth, but cereal is very grainy. Brittleness is how easily a food shatters or breaks apart. So graham crackers, very brittle. Cupcake, not brittle. Firmness, a food's resistance to pressure. So tough foods like beef jerky need a lot of biting force to chew through them, so very firm. Tender foods like Jell-O require little force to chew, so not very firm. Consistency. This is how thin or thick a product is. It's measured in pourability. So juice is very thin in its consistency, but milk is very thick. All right, taste test panels. I often show this video in class. You can check it out. It's a Food Detectives episodes where there's a taste test panel for pizza. So see what you think of how well that taste test panel was run. So this is a group of people who evaluate the flavor, texture, appearance, and aroma of food products. It could be trained professionals, usually during food production, or untrained consumers, once the product is on the market. Factors need to be controlled in the room in which the taste test is given, like lighting, aromas, numbering and lettering of samples, and temperature.